if we able to take something out of this webinar, and probably the Indianization of the raw materials and the materials which are being imported in the country after this import curve of rupees 200 crores by government of India. So we should be able to do some, justice for the local industry. So this is all, I think. Mr. Nuwal, you would like to say something in this respect?
Because these private industries, because actually so many can be happen in the country, because since was there some limitation and reservation, but as I know, because many industries can do so many things which is required.
Yeah, Mr. Nuwal, I guess you've logged in from two separate devices. That's the reason we are having this echo. Can I request you to switch off one particular device?
Hello.
Hello.
Now voice is clear.
There is still some echo.
Oh. Okay.
You logged in from your laptop as well as from your.
I will let you know.
Yes. In the meanwhile, in case you can just.
I will just use Vikram.
Yeah. Right. Mr. Vikram Sehgal, would you like to as well as add on to your?
Yeah, thanks, Vivek. Like the chairman, Mr. Gupta said, what we've done in this committee, we've tried to identify which are the raw materials which are available in India, and then I think we match them with whatever are being imported and try and substitute them with the indigenous material. This is actually a great step, because I think in the past this issue of raw material has not been addressed too seriously. So I think this will give to a lot of the manufacturers, especially like Mr. Gupta said, the specialized alloys and the specialized titanium products, which are going to be used a lot in the defense industry. It would really be a good move forward. And like he said, that the PhD was nominated as one of the main agencies to conduct this report and to conduct the meetings. So, Mr. Gupta, where are we in this? Have we identified some lists, or is it, in terms of the action, have we moved forward?
Yeah, this list has already been identified, and the report has already been submitted to Secretary Defense Production before the lockdown. I will just now inform everybody for the benefit of all the viewers. There are 8 categories we have made. One is the super alloys, second is the high-end aluminum alloys, third is titanium alloys, fourth is special steels, copper and cupro nickel. This is another category, composite material including carbon fibers, tungsten and ceramics. So these are the 8 categories, like the imports to the tune of almost 14,000 crore, almost $2 billion are happening every year in these categories. Now we cannot differentiate whether these are purely defense, because a part of it is going to defense also, but this is a broadly which has been taken from the import list. We really cannot say it's 20%, 30%, 40%, how much percentage is the defense out of this?
Correct. Actually, besides indigenization, another important aspect of this is that very often it's a challenge that some of the materials which we try and import from overseas, because of the restrictions of end user and licenses from the various companies and countries, we really struggle to get these materials. So that would actually, allay those problems. So it's really a good move forward, because we all face these issues of export licenses from the exporting countries, end user certificates, etc., etc.
Could I just say one thing? If somebody from the Defense Committee could enlighten me, during the month of November, December, if I'm not wrong, we had discussed with the Defense Ministry regarding the formation of a Defense Export Promotion Council. And I think we were supposed to send a paper on that, which was probably also sent. So are we aware of any progress on that?
No, sorry, we could not follow it up because that paper was given sometimes in February, and after that the COVID period started. We could not follow it up.
Could not.
But Sanjay, sorry.
I think Nasir has an update on that, sir.
Pardon?
Nasir has an update on that, sir. He's trying to. Nasir, unmute yourself, please.
Good morning, sir.
Yeah, good morning, Asir.
Yes, sir. We had submitted that document and it has been sent to the export promotion department of the Department of Defense Production for further discussion. It has already been sent that time only, sir. But after this lockdown, I think no movement has been done. We'll follow it up and we'll update you, sir.
Because if I recall,
Sir.
I had given, this idea I had suggested to the then Defense Secretary, and he was quite interested and rather excited about it at that time, isn't it?
Yes, sir. Absolutely, sir.
Can I speak?
Okay. So let's work on. Maybe we could discuss it a bit more during today's seminar.
Yes, sir.
Sir.
So the development is that they have forwarded it to their export promotion department from the secretary DPU's office. Now I think it's only the discussions. Maybe they'll have a virtual discussion or a physical discussion on that, and then kind of give us an update on that.
I hope we had sent some related documents like the Telecom Export Promotion Council, for example, just as a template or something.
Sir, I couldn't hear you. Can you please say that again?
I'm saying that we had discussed sending them documentation for other export promotion councils already in existence for long. For example, the Telecom Export Promotion Council and so on, to provide them with a sort of a template, right?
Yes, sir. We have given that as well, sir.
Okay.
Actually, sir, in this area, I must admit that a lot of work is done by the Joint Secretary who's in charge of exports, who's very, very proactive. And there have been a lot of very positive changes in the last 6 months, 1 year, year and a half in terms of NOCs, in terms of e-filing. And, typically one NOC which used to take 2 months is now taking 3 to 4 days if all the documents are in place.
Excellent. Excellent. In defense is one field where you can't wish away those NOCs because probably they will be needed. But if they are done fast, I think that's the best situation one could hope for.
In fact, sir, what they've now also proposed, which I think few companies have got it, is they've also they've allowed OGL, Open General License, for certain companies to keep exporting. And the application was, a lot of people have applied for that. I don't know how many have got it, but like I said, some very proactive steps have been taken by the MOD in regard to export of defense products.
Excellent.
Because now I think if I'm not mistaken, I mean, a lot of people, senior CMDs in the public sector are also their DPSUs. Now they've also got a mandate, I believe, that all PSUs and I think maybe even the OFB are mandated to export a certain percentage of their total revenue or their total products.
Excellent. Very good. I think it can't be a one-way street. If you actually export, then you are actually encouraging domestic usage also because you are increasing the volumes. Ultimately, the criticality of volumes will always be there.
In fact, sir, for defense exports is very important because no self-reliance can happen without defense exports, because only when you export, you learn how to be self-reliant and you learn new technologies and you do products which, so if you can send to the global market, then you can do work for yourself. I feel this impetus is really very good for self-reliance eventually.
I think this brings us back to the Export Promotion Council. I think we should pitch for it very strongly. Because once you institutionalize an activity, you should all find it. Secretary joined us. Kumarji has joined us.
Yes, sir. I'll request all speakers, panelists to keep their microphones off so that we can have a disturbance-free program. Thank you very much. Good morning to everyone. Thank you for joining us for this very important webinar on indigenization of critical and strategic materials in defense manufacturing. We'd like to thank Mr. Raj Kumar, Secretary, Defense Production, for joining us this morning. Thank you very much, sir, for being here. And we are indeed delighted to have you here amongst an august gathering of panelists and more than 190 attendees. A very warm welcome to you. I'd like to also thank our Senior Vice President, Mr. Sanjay Agarwal, who has also joined us today. I'd like to quickly thank Mr. Hari Mohan, Director General, Ordnance Factories and Chairman, and Mr. R. Madhavan, Chairman and MD, HAL. I think he's joining us. Mr. Shukla is already there from HAL. Dr. S.K. Jha, Chairman and MD, Midhani. Mr. William Blair, Vice President and CEO, Lockheed Martin, India. Thank you very much, especially you joining at an odd hour all the way from US. Mr. Nick Khanna, Managing Director, India, BAE Systems. Mr. Ashish Saraf, Head Helicopters Business, Airbus South Asia. Chairman of the committee, Mr. M.K. Gupta. Mr. Vikram Sehgal, Co-Chairman of our PhD Defense and HLS Committee. Mr. Satyanarayan Nawal, Co-Chairman of the PhD Defense and HLS Committee. Our Secretary General of the Chamber, Mr. Saurabh Sanayar. So we have all these people in the panel today, and we are indeed glad that we are going to have a very important discussion in the section of Atmanirbharta, which our President has talked, our Prime Minister has talked about, and is leading it from the front. I will just take a moment to introduce our Secretary, Mr. Raj Kumar. Mr. Raj Kumar, Secretary Defense Production from Ministry of Defense from Government of India, is a Gujarat cadre IAS officer of the 1987 batch. Mr. Raj Kumar took over as India's Defense Production Secretary on February 17, 2020. As Secretary Defense Production, Mr. Kumar is looking into 9 defense public sector undertakings, which we popularly refer as DPSUs, and 41 ordnance factories. Mr. Kumar also supervises efforts to promote entrepreneurship, innovation, and startups through programs like IDEX. I will like to request, or rather seek permission for not introducing the other panelists because we have lost some time. And in any case, all our panelists are very well known, not only to our industry members, as well as all the attendees. So we could possibly save on that time. Without much ado, maybe I would like to start the proceedings of the program and request our Senior Vice President, Mr. Sanjay Agarwal, to give his formal welcome address.
Thank you, Vivek. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. And I believe good evening, or rather early morning for Mr. Blair in the US. On behalf of PhD Chamber, I would like to extend a very warm welcome to Sri Raj Kumar ji, Secretary Defense Production, Government of India, for joining us on this webinar for interacting with the industry members on the platform of PhD Chamber. I also take this opportunity to welcome Mr. Hari Mohan, Chairman, Ordnance Factory Board, Mr. R. Madhavan, CMD, HAL, and his colleague, Mr. Shukla, Executive Director, HAL, Dr. S.K. Jha, CMD Midhani, Mr. William Blair from Lockheed Martin India, Mr. Nick Khanna from BAE Systems India, Mr. Ashish Sharaf from Airbus South Asia, my colleagues, Mr. M.K. Gupta, Chairman, Defense and HLS Committee, PSD, and co-chairs, Mr. Vikram Sehgal and Mr. Satyanarayan Nubal, as also the Secretary General, PSD, Mr. Saurabh Sanyal, to this meaningful and very timely webinar on the indigenization of critical and strategic materials in defense manufacturing. By way of introduction about the PSD CCI, I would like to say that the PSD Chamber has been working as a catalyst for the promotion of Indian industry, trade and entrepreneurship for the past 115 years. We are a forward-looking, proactive and dynamic pan-India apex organization present across 22 states and 2 union territories. As a partner in progress with the industry and government, the PSD Chamber has a special focus on the MSME, and we work at the grassroots level with strong national and international linkages for propelling progress, harmony, and integrated development of the Indian economy. As India comes face to face with the current economic crisis caused by the corona or COVID-19 virus, the government has gone into an overdrive to kickstart an economic revival with a slew of measures which includes self-reliance in defense manufacturing. The Honorable Finance Minister, Mrs. Nirmala Sitharaman, announced a series of reforms for defense production to boost the Indian defense industry during the post-COVID period. The idea is to bring down India's large defense import bill. Although we all understand that certain high technology systems would still need to be procured from abroad at all times, but the emphasis will be to develop and procure locally made products to the extent possible. This drive will give a big to local manufacturing, especially to the large number of defense MSMEs which are working in the niche technologies also. Increasing the FDI limit to 74% shall be a great encouragement for global players to set up manufacturing hubs in India and to bring new technology to India. The purpose is to have more manufacturing in India, more of make in India, more skill in India, and we really have made sure that we are not so much bothered about the ownership part. What we are really bothered about is doing it in India, developing our skills, and making it into a domestic product. We are hopeful that with the proper implementation, the reforms announced by the Honorable Finance Minister will help India significantly cut its ballooning import bill on weapons and materials programs. Indigenization is the capability of developing and producing any defense equipment within the country for the dual purpose of achieving self-reliance and reducing the burden of imports. Self-reliance in defense manufacturing is one of the key objectives of the Department of Defense Production. As far as the indigenization is concerned, we have to take the first steps where we have the in-house capability to manufacture materials, components, and assemblies. One thing I would like to add here, Secretary Sir, is that one very important suggestion that the PSD Chamber has given to the Ministry of Defense Production is to set up a Defense Export Production Council, which will be very important to actually, consolidate all the efforts of the indigenous defense manufacturing industry at a single place, so that we have all the data and at one place. For example, one typical difficulty that one faces in defense exports is that the same product might get classified under a metal or under an engineering product or something, and totally lose the defense tag altogether. So if we consolidate all the defense production and exports under the Defense Production Export Council, that would be something that would greatly help the industry consolidate its efforts towards exporting and indigenizing both. Because exporting is going to be a big part of indigenizing, in the sense that we will get to critical volumes only by being able to achieve the total volumes as a mix of both domestic consumption and exports, like in any other industry. So, sir, I believe that it would be much more of a pleasure for me to listen to the experts of the industry and gain some knowledge today. So, I would hand over the proceedings to our Principal Director, Mr. Vivek Saigal, to forward the meeting along. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much, Senior Vice President, sir, for your opening remarks and the presidential address, and also giving us direction and picking up the point on the Export Promotion Council, which will be a great support to the Indian industry. Can I request now Mr. M.K. Gupta, our Chairman of the Defense and the HLS Committee, to kind of give his industry observations and remarks quickly.
Good afternoon, sir. On behalf of PhD Chamber Defense and Homeland Security Committee, I wish good health to everybody. I take this opportunity to welcome Shri Rajkumar Ji, Secretary Defense Production Government of India, other dignitaries, panelists and attendees. Sir, first we would like to congratulate and thank Government of India for announcing such path-breaking measures in the interest of Indian defense industry. Now, after government's announcement of making all the defense purchases below rupees 200 crores will only be procured from Indian manufacturers, this opens big opportunity for Indian defense MSMEs. These measures are important to make India a self-reliant nation under Prime Minister's vision of Atmanirbhar Bharat. Today, a number of raw materials are imported in large quantities annually for meeting the requirements of DPSUs, OFB, DRDO, foreign OEMs, and their Indian private sector partners. These imports can be replaced by domestic supplies and create a huge business opportunity for Indian companies. Our idea of Make in India gets defeated when we cannot indigenize the basic raw materials required for production of platform, assemblies, equipments in DPSU, working with Indian software partners. Hence, indigenization of raw materials is extremely important as a first step. Sir, as you are kindly aware that a committee was constituted by Department of Defense Production to study the roadmap of indigenization of critical and strategic raw materials for manufacturing of defense products, with PhD Chamber as convener of this committee. This committee, after a series of meetings with the stakeholders, including OFB, DPSUs, Indian Association, industry associations, foreign OEMs working under offsets, submitted its report to Department of Defense Production. Sir, 8 critical and strategic raw materials were identified in the report. Among other findings in the report, it was found that there is an annual import of rupees 14,000 crores of these critical and strategic raw materials, which otherwise could have been sourced from the available Indian manufacturers. We can save around $2 billion of foreign exchange by checking these imports. The materials are namely superalloys, high-end aluminum alloys, titanium alloys, special steels, copper and cupronickel, composite materials, tungsten, ceramics. To develop a sustainable ecosystem in defense sector, the Indian manufacturers need to be given opportunity to manufacture and supply the material requirement of OFB, DRDO, and foreign OEMs. Sir, we would like to put forward few suggestions for your kind consideration and actions. OFB, DRDO, DPSUs with their vendors and foreign OEMs with their Indian offset partner should share all their import requirements of materials along with the detailed specification with MOD on an easy portal, so that Indian local manufacturers can, with their capabilities which exist with them, can offer the same products. We would also request DDP to define a proactive mechanism by way of participation of all approval agencies like DGQA, SEMILEC, to evaluate the eligibility and capability of Indian manufacturers who offer these materials, do offer to supply these material requirements currently being imported. We further request the existing approved local manufacturers supplying to OFB, DRDO, DPSUs should be given chance to supply similar grade materials to foreign OEMs as well and their Indian partners, offset partners. If there is gap in approvals, that should be expedited instead of getting started afresh. To start with, we have Medhani and other private sector producing all critical special steels material, supplying to all defense establishments in the country, having all approvals from the accreditation agencies locally, should be given a chance to supply some materials to foreign OEMs and their offset partners. This becomes a test case, sir. We would like to also request DDP to do a periodic monitoring of this indigenization process to ensure its actual execution on ground with a defined period. Foreign OEMs, our request, sir, foreign OEMs should also be made a part of government's decision of stopping all defense-related imports below 200 crores in a phased manner. There should be a provision of higher multiplier for the foreign OEMs working under offset for the purchase of raw materials from local manufacturers to incentivize them. We have already requested that in our request for the DPP changes, sir. On behalf of PhD Chamber, we urge the government to kindly ensure phasing out completely import of these critical and strategic raw materials for which the capability exists in the country, thereby giving opportunity to Indian defense companies to manufacture and supply these materials to all OFB, DPSUs and foreign OEMs. I hope this webinar will be useful for all stakeholders who are present here as panelists or as attendees. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Gupta, for those remarks. And I think a great thing which has happened in the last quarter or so is the identification of products worth 40,000 crores, which can actually save us that valuable exchange, where PhD Chamber was kindly made as the convener of that committee set up by the Ministry of Defense. With the permission of the Secretary, Shri Raj Kumarji, I'd like to quickly talk about the format of the webinar going forward. Sir, we would like to request you for your keynote address, post which we would like to ask the representative of the DPSUs for their perspective, followed by the perspective of the foreign OEMs, and then from our co-chairman, Mr. Vikram Sehgal, and a brief Q&A, if possible, time permits, and of course, a very importantly concluding remarks from your side, sir. So with your permission, maybe go ahead, please. So kindly unmute yourself. We can't hear you. Paramjit, can you unmute him, please? Please go ahead, sir. You are unmuted now.
Yeah. So probably after the keynote address, I will not have much of time. So in case you have received any questions, you can pass it on to me, and we'll definitely look into it. So I may not be able to be with you till the end.
We will finish it up by 1:30, sir, as per the time provided by you. Sure.
I have got some other work also to attend to, So
how much time do we have, sir?
I'll come in the end, if you can summarize it in the end, I'll come back to you again. Right?
Okay. Okay.
So maybe by 1:25, if you can, complete your deliberations, and then just brief me for a minute or so, and then we'll close it.
Right, sir. So we request you for your address right now, sir.
Thank you so much. So thank you, Vivek. Shri Sanjay Agrawal ji, Senior Vice President, PhD Chamber of Commerce. Secretary General Saurabh Sanyal ji, M.K. Gupta, Chairman of PhD Chamber Defense and HLS Committee. Then we have Chairman OFE with us, MD HAL, MD Medhani, CEO Lockheed Martin, MD BAE Systems, representatives of the industry and colleagues. So at the outset, I'd like to thank the PhD Chamber of Commerce for taking this initiative to organize this very important webinar on indigenization of critical and strategic raw materials in defense manufacturing. As mentioned by Shri Sanjay Agrawal ji, that Government of India recently launched Atmanirbhar Bharat Abhiyan. And as you know, as part of that package, government has announced large number of measures to make India self-reliant in almost all sectors. So far as defense sector is concerned, you must have heard some very encouraging announcements by Honorable Finance Minister on 16th May. Our motto, as you know, is Make in India for self-reliance in defense, for which domestic industry has to play a very, very vital and important role. Currently, the size of the industry is of the order of $12 billion, out of which 80% is a share of DPSUs and 20% by the private sector. And we expect our defense turnover to go up to $25 billion by 2025. This can happen only if we make conscious efforts to minimize imports, beginning with the negative list of imports, realistic GSQRs, provide enough budgetary support for domestic procurement. As rightly pointed out, there is a huge focus on indigenization of imported items, including materials. The idea of these policy announcements was to instill confidence among our domestic industry, who can now plan to invest and also acquire technology for catering to the needs of our forces. In my personal opinion, this is a huge positive for our domestic defense industry. In this background, today's subject matter is basically relating to the area of import substitution. As pointed out by Mr. Gupta, DDP had constituted a committee. It was convened by PSD Chamber of Commerce, and it was headed by Dr. S.K. Jha, current CMD of Midhani, with active support of members from a wide ranging of subject experts. Now, this committee has listed some very important policy, procedural, and operational issues for our consideration. They have pointed out, for instance, the pre-qualification testing that takes a lot of time and involves substantial expenditure. Also, there is no right now incentive in the form of long-term supply contracts to the indigenous manufacturers. And single biggest point that I saw in that committee's report related to the non-availability of technical specifications, that becomes a bigger drawback. So in the context of these constraints mentioned in the report and also several recommendations, what we basically now need is technology, volume, viability, and certification capability in-house. That means within the country. So I would like to list the steps that we need to take. For instance, the first and foremost step that we need to take is develop technical specifications in collaboration with research institutions, labs, followed by development of the manufacturing processes. In case of certain identified materials, we plan to adopt a mission mode approach led by DRDO. Secondly, make one procedure under DPP and also IDEX route can be used for developing such materials with the support of the government. Thirdly, we should develop testing and certification facilities. So we like to set up a task force under Directorate of Standardization for developing these testing and certification facilities in the country. Also, we should try for import of technology under transfer of technology route or through intergovernmental agreements to FDI route, especially in those cases where we have got domestic manufacturing capability, but technology or part of the technology that is probably not available at this point of time. So as you know, we have already raised the FDI in defense to 74% under automatic route. So this is a big plus. Also, we have proposed higher multiples for investments and transfer of technology under the revised offset guidelines, which are part of DPP 2020. In case we have the limiting factors of volume or cost, we can definitely explore long-term supply contracts and also the size of the export market. Now, based on the volume and viability of certain materials, as pointed out in the committee's report, I am sure 2-3 items out of these 8 broad categories can be initially taken up for indigenization. Material subcommittee of the Directorate of Standardization has been asked to identify the potential Indian partners who might be interested in acquiring technology and also undertake production of such materials. Now, as you might be aware, for production of high-end aluminum alloys, a joint venture called Utkarsh Dhatu Nigam Limited was incorporated by Midhani and Nalco in August 19. We are in the process of progressing the matter further. Currently, the tender has been floated for selection of consultancy consultants, and thereafter the project preparation will be taken up. So far as Defense Ministry's approach to incentivize indigenization of material is concerned, you might have noted that DPP 2020 has provisions to encourage indigenous raw materials. For instance, it has been mentioned over there that we will ascertain the feasibility of using indigenous materials at the RFI stage itself. In case of buy and make category, we will ask transfer of technology from the manufacturers in case the materials are to be used in large quantities. Then there is a provision of graded incentives for use of indigenous materials subject to a ceiling of 1% of the total contract value. Then there is Public Procurement Order 2017, where we will be notifying certain raw materials where local capacity and competition is available in sufficient numbers. Then the provisioning would be that only the local manufacturers will be eligible to bid. That means we will be encouraging indigenous procurement in respect of such materials for which the manufacturing capacity or the availability in the country itself is of sufficient volume and quantity. So these are some of the things which department is considering, at this point of time for indigenization of these critical and strategic raw materials meant for defense use basically. And I should also tell you that we are currently in the process of drafting the defense production export promotion policy, and hopefully within a month or so we'd like to put it in the public domain for seeking your feedback and comments, which will be covering all aspects of what Honorable Finance Minister announced on 16th May, and in addition to indigenization, to give a push to make in India, to seek substitute of imported items. All those and number of other similar things will be there as part of that defense production and export promotion policy. So with this, I think I'll stop here, and I'm sure with luminaries present in this webinar, there will be very important points which will be brought to the notice of the audience. And at the end, I'll like to take feedback from all of you, and maybe as part of my closing remarks, I'll come back.
Right, sir. Thank you so much for those very, very valuable inputs and food for thought which you have given us. And I thank you on behalf of PhD Chamber, as well as our Senior Vice President, who did mention about the Export Promotion Council, for your taking the next step on this particular agenda. Thank you very much, sir.
Secretary sir, really grateful for your earnings for the time, and you will be coming back again, of course. Thank you.
Right, sir. Right, sir. So I'd like to now quickly go on to the DPSUs to for their quick remarks as we have limited time, and I will also be posing a small question along, and I'll request you to answer that as well along with your remarks. My first request, Mr. Hari Mohan, Director General OFB. Can I request you to kindly make your opening remarks and also try to identify what are the problems of OFB and DPSUs in getting local materials, Indian manufacturers approved under TOT and licensed production manufacturing? Paramjeet, can you check the technical problem? Please go ahead.
He is unmuted, sir.
Yes, please go ahead.
Very good afternoon. Am I audible?
Yes, you're audible. Please go ahead.
Respected Secretary Defence Production, Sri Rajkumar ji, all the panelists, our CMD HL, CMD Midani, other distinguished panelists, the Senior Vice President, PSG Chambers, Sanjay Agrawal, and all the members from PSG leadership. I consider as a privilege to speak to this august audience and this very important subject which has been selected by PSG Chambers of Commerce. While in the country, as a government, as Ministry of Defence, there had always been a focus on indigenization of products, indigenization of systems, subsystems, assemblies and components. I have not attended any meeting or seminar where the focus has been on the materials, except the last one was again organized by the PSG Chamber of Commerce. That was in the month of December, if I remember correctly, somewhere on 29th or 30th of December. Again, there was a seminar which has been organized by Steel Ministry, and they were focusing on how there can be more and more application of indigenous steels available in the different sectors. And that seminar also I participated, headed by the Steel Minister himself. Recently, government in the last few weeks, you have heard all the kind of announcements. The lot of reforms are being announced by the government, 74% FDI, the 200 crore limits for limiting up to 200 crore tenders have to be within the country. These are the very, very major policy landmark announcements, and so many other details which have been shared by Secretary Defence Production himself, and which enlists the various initiatives being taken by Ministry of Defence under the leadership of Raksha Mantri, Secretary, Defence Secretary and Secretary Defence Production. In the DPP also the focus is on indigenization. The highest category is IDDM. But if you look at the materials category, as I said in the opening remarks, there has been a very limited focus. If I share some data which is there in this report which committee has submitted, which was mentioned by Mr. N.K. Gupta as well as by the Secretary Defence Production, if you look at the alloy steel, high-end alloy steels being imported by defence manufacturers, it was of the order of 5,250 crores in the year 18-19. And the data for 8 months for 1920 has been given there. That is the order of 3,500 crores. Means the steels alone, the defence manufacturers, they are importing, which is of the order of 5,000 crore plus. And importers are HAL, Bharat Electronics Limited, BHEL, L&T, Kalyani Technology Forge, Tata Aerospace, and many private aerospace companies. These companies are importing materials, either these materials are not available in India or they are importing for economic considerations. My belief is that many of these things are getting imported, and the reasons we will deliberate in this seminar, and I will also mention. The defence manufacturers like ordnance factories, defence PSUs, they are guided by drawings and specifications And those drawings and specifications, either their own development, or it is a DRDO development, or these are specifications and drawings given by the foreign OEM who has given us the TOT. Now, when a technology gets developed in a foreign country, they look at the material which is available in their country. They do not look at the material which is available in India. And that is how lot of specifications which are there in the TOT documents or defense products, they pertains to internationally available materials or the materials available in the country in which, from which we are getting the technology. On the other hand, there may be similar materials getting manufactured in India. There may be even better materials available in India. If designer had the opportunity to introduce that better material, he would have loved to do it. But the designer doesn't get that opportunity because designer is not sitting here. Or designer is not looking at that problem as a problem of indigenization. He has designed something, he has picked up a material from his country, he has put in the drawing, given it to us. Now it is our duty to find that material. And that material is not available in the country. So defense manufacturers are importing. This is the dynamics because of which lot of imports are taking place, and this is the area, in my opinion, which need to be addressed by all of us. It has to be addressed by the industry. It has to be addressed by the government and by the Ministry of Defense by having suitable mechanisms by which we try to fill up this gap and try to see that whatever materials are getting imported, if the capability exists in the country, we take from our indigenous manufacturers. In the defense manufacturing setup, there is a manufacturer, there is a technology provider. Technology provider could be DRDO, technology provider could be the defense manufacturer himself, and technology provider could be a foreign OEM. The technology provider, the designer, he decides that what kind of material is required for that particular component and sub-assembly. The manufacturer, he looks for the material. Either he should get in the country. If he gets in the country, he buys from the country. If he doesn't get in the country, he imports because he doesn't have any choice. If the same specification, the Japanese specification, American specification, French specification, or ISO specification, if that material is commercially available in India, he will buy from India. But if that material is not available commercially in the India, the manufacturer has no choice but to import. He cannot wait for indigenization of the material. He has to produce his product and he needs the material today, so he will buy from where it is available. If it is available in the country, he buys from the country. Otherwise, he takes it from a foreign source. So that is the ground reality. But if you look at the decision making, what is happening is many times, though similar or better materials are available, but they are as per a different specification. And whatever is given in the TOT document or drawing and specification is a different specification. There are two different specifications. The material quality may be similar, but there are two different specifications. And this decision becomes extremely difficult whether specified specification given in the drawing and what is available in the country may be similar or even better, whether this can be introduced. This introduction decision is at the moment is very difficult. See, there are inspection agencies, there are approving agencies. They are at the moment, they are taking a lot of time based on available equivalents, or they are requesting for trials, actual trials of the product. And if you go for an actual product trial of the product, it is going to take a lot of time, a lot of energy, a lot of money. And that is why our indigenization process of raw materials at the moment is not moving at the fast pace. So this is the area which has to be addressed. Now, if you look at the capability of the country, in my opinion, with my 40 years of professional experience, there is enough capability available in the country. I will give you a few examples. the armor plates of Vedanta tanks, armor plates of T-72 tanks, armor plates of T-90 tanks. All these were there as per the Russian specifications, but we could manufacture all these materials within our country, and now this is almost fully indigenous. The huge turret casting for T-72, it's a very, very huge casting, and that casting with a sandwiched armor could be produced in the country by BHEL Haridwar and HCC Ranchi. That is again another achievement. If you look at the barrels of T-72 tank and barrels of T-90 tanks, the indigenous technology for T-72 barrel is much superior than the technology which was given to us in the form of documents. And what was given to us in the early 80s, it might have been of 70s or 60s, I don't know. But the technology, indigenous technology was much superior. The barrel burst got converted into barrel bulge. There is a malfunction of ammunition within the barrel. There used to be burst earlier, and now it leads to bulge of the barrel. This is a kind of achievement because of indigenous development of technology. In case of T-90 barrels, we have not taken steel technology. We have used our own indigenous chemistry, indigenous materials, indigenous heat treatment. Entire barrel of T-90 is fully indigenous. Similarly, there are many examples. Torsion part of the tank means what I am saying. Why I am quoting these examples at this forum? There is enough indigenous capability available for many challenging materials. This is the point I wanted to stress. Recently, in one of our ordnance factory, metal and steel factory, Ichhapur, they have developed ultra high strength alloy steel, and which has been patented, and the strength is of the order of 2000 MPa. That is on the highest end of the steel. So means, again, my point is very simple, that there is enough capability available in the country. Government.
Mr. Harimohan, I'm sorry to interrupt. Actually, we have a deadline till 1:25 when the secretary comes back. And if I can have some quick points from all the panelists, it will be good for us to give him a feedback. So can I request you to sum up in the next 1 minute, please?
Another 3-4 minutes. I have certain points which is for the forum to discuss. You can discuss. The first thing is, whatever defense TOT contracts are taking place, in those contracts, there should be a stipulation that OEM would support indigenization of the materials. This should be included at the RFP stage, and a certain contracts which are there in the negotiation stage. At the negotiation stage also, it is possible to introduce. And if the OEM comes on the board, then it is very easy to arrive at the indigenous equivalent of the material. We have already done in 2 contracts. During the negotiation stage, we are saying that if indigenous material is available, the equivalence will be certified by the OEM, and OEM will give his full support. This we have already introduced in 2 different contracts. For approving indigenous equivalent materials, there should be an inter-ministerial body, especially for the steel. In the inter-ministerial body can be there between Ministry of Defense and Ministry of Steel, which will really facilitate introduction of all the indigenous steels available in the defense product. We can think of like that. There is a concept of the DDP has a concept of IDEX. That is for the defense IDEX new ideas are being promoted by the Department of Defense Production. The indigenization of raw materials can be promoted through IDEX also. Another thing should be, there can be, now the country promotes many projects for research and development. And research and development is generally in the technology field, in the defense field. But the research and development being promoted by the government is very limited in the indigenization of the raw materials. There is a Army Technology Board, there are technology boards of science and technology, there are technology boards of R&D. All this, there can be some body which would promote indigenization of the raw materials in the country. Maybe the government can think of even giving a interest-free loans to the raw material manufacturers for development of indigenous equivalent of imported raw materials. Some interest-free loan can be given maybe for 4 or 5 years, and by that the industry can be promoted to develop import substitution for the imported materials. When you do all these government-driven promotions for technology development or indigenous material development, there are bound to be certain disputes. The manufacturer will say, sir, whatever you wanted, I have developed. But somebody will say, no, this development is not complete. There will be, when the government promotes this activity, there is a likelihood of disputes. So there should be a dispute settlement mechanism, which should be purely technology oriented. The knowledgeable people, scientists and experts, they should look at the problem that whatever objective was given to the raw material manufacturer, whether that been achieved or not, that should be focusing on that. In America, there is something like DARPA. We can have something, a body of this kind, maybe led by DRDO. Another thing which I want to mention in the field of defense sector, at the moment, the imports are of the order of 65 to 70% if you take it on an accumulated basis. The country's index is that this country is importing defense products, materials to the order of 65 to 70%, and indigenous manufacturing is of the order of 30 to 70%. Now, 30 to 35%. Now, every defense industry, they should be asked to indicate their self-reliance index. How much is their gross sales and how much import they are doing. Like ordnance factories, we are doing this index, if you see, it will look at 0.9, but the country index is 0.3. And many industries, many defense industries, this index may be 0.5 or 0.3. Means there is large quantum of import by them and their deliveries maybe 2 times, 3 times only. So there can be a concept of self-reliance index which should be introduced and which will push these companies to increase their index, and as much as they increase, more and more indigenization and more opportunities for Indian industry. These are the few suggestions which I have flagged for discussion during this webinar, or maybe later on by the PhD Chamber of Commerce. With this, I conclude my talk on this occasion, and thank you very much for giving me an opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Indeed, very important inputs. As you said, we should have probably an index which can measure, how much of indigenization we have done. That takes me quickly to Mr. Madhavan, CMD HAL. Thank you very much for joining us. We couldn't see you earlier. You were a little delayed, I understand, but we finished the address by the secretary, and we've just had the marks from the DGOF chairman. Over to you, Mr. Madhavan.
Good afternoon. Hear me now?
We can hear you very well, sir. Please go ahead.
I agree with Mr. Hari that we do have problems as far as the TOT projects are concerned. There are a couple of things that I would like to add, because even in TOT, because it is from different countries, there is a multiplicity of specifications, whether it is IMS specification, whether it is PS specification, EIR specification from France, or GOES specification from Russia. First thing that we need to do is to rationalize all this and probably go towards one single specification, whether it is indigenous or preferably an AMS specification which is being used across every country nowadays. So if you can rationalize this, the main problem of having that minimum order quantities, that we can get away with. Second part of it is we should ensure that any indigenous project, because now onwards it is going to be more of indigenous projects rather than OEM and TOT projects. So when it is an indigenous project, it should be made mandatory that we use only an indigenous project material during the design phase itself. there shall not be any specification which is not indigenous in nature. So this will take care of minimum order quantities, because the main thing that we look at it is in case of HAL, especially in, when you're talking of aeronautical products, we have something like 20 odd types of material which account for my, about 80 to 90% of my imports. These are something like 8 varieties of aluminum, 6 varieties of steel products, 2 varieties of superalloys, titanium, which is another major areas that we have to look at it. I also agree with the Ordnance Factory saying that we do have the capacities and the wherewithal to develop our products here itself, especially raw materials. There are some issues regarding certifications. Now, certification standards have to change, and it should be in line with what the other foreign countries are doing. That is, the material has to be certified, not the product made out of the material is to be certified, which is a thing that is a big bottleneck for us. Every time I use an indigenous material, I have to go through a recertification route, which takes a lot of time. So if the material is certified, and any designer can use that material and certify the product also along with the material. Third thing is that there is a definite change in the composition of the materials that we are now going to use now, especially with the composites coming into picture. We are going large number of parts are being made out of composites. So we have to have another policy of making the raw material required for the composites, especially the filaments and the prepegs, which as of now we don't have any capacity to do it. So, and there are certain areas where the testing requirements are also to be enhanced within the country, which in some cases we don't have it. Something like hot fatigue test that is required for the superalloys, especially for engine. These are certain areas that we need to do. So these are areas that we feel that we should get have a national project on developing such materials. I won't take longer because we'll discuss this further. So these are the certain things that we felt that we need to do. Another thing that I need to insist on is that government support definitely is required in this, to the extent because any indigenous material, because of the quantities that we are handling, is very small compared to what the foreigners are doing. Our costs are going to be higher. So somewhere this cost has to be absorbed. In fact, if you look at it, the indigenous materials that is developed by Medani or Ordnance Factory, Bambachari, or the third one is even Hindalco Almex, the cost of the product, raw material is generally about 25% to even 100% more than what we are importing costs are. So there we have to take a call how we are going to absorb that cost. Fourth thing is that across board in the foreign, this one, if suppose you look at the availability of raw materials, the major chunk is taken by the big users, and they have a system where they, in fact, the total product of an industry itself is absorbed by them, so they get at a much lower price. When we go for buying the same material, we get it at a much higher cost. So an indigenous route of getting these materials will definitely improve our, on a long term, it will improve our price. Also, that's the thing that we feel that we should do it. So these are the some things that we should keep in mind for the discussion that we are going to do following this.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Madhavan. I see a lot of agreement on specifications, certifications coming along. Now I'll quickly go down to Dr. Sanjay Kumar Jha. Thank you very much, Dr. Jha, for not only joining us, but also chairing the committee, which has actually given out those details, which have been very, very useful for our policy measures to be taken for, taken forward. You're requested to kindly unmute yourself, and I will have to request you to kindly be brief to all the panelists so that
thank you. Thank you, Mr. Vivek. It's my privilege to be part of this very important webinar on this strategic materials. And I also compliment our ministry for giving us the opportunity to discuss openly about what is the issues regarding the indigenization of the strategic materials in the country. What we have seen, as Secretary has rightly put very important points, that technology, volume, certification, and of course the cost. So coming to that major part was, I am saying that certification is a major issue, and as DGOF we have rightly told that a lot of technology is available in the country where we can produce the material of the better quality in the country, maybe of that whatever we are importing, but we are not able to produce because of the lack of matching of the specification and the certification issues. And now I'll just take the point from our CMD HAL, this is point of view, that cost is very important. But I have to make few points on this, that whenever we see that material is coming, requirement is coming for indigenization, if you find the requirement coming from the Indian industry is coming very stringent, and similar material once you are importing, we are not asking lot of tests, lot of reports. We are buying the material, we are taking the material based on their simple test certificate. Now when it comes to requirement of indigenization, right from the constant of putting the raw material itself, a lot of challenges are there, the cost is getting increased. I'll just put some example, that if I am making some material for ISRO requirement, for ISRO requirement, they give the permission to use, let's say 50% scrap that reverts and the 50% of virgin material in some of the requirements. But similar thing when I go into the aero requirement, aero business, no scrap, no reverts, even though it is qualified, cannot be used. So these are the conditions, but similar condition when we approach to our international supplier, we never put forth that, because once we see the specification. Second point, the number of test requirements coming for the Indian industry is very high, very voluminous. And those things are adding to the not only the time, but the cost also. And addition to that, whenever we approach to the Indian manufacturer, we say that the quantity which you have to supply for initial qualification is very less. And then the manufacturer is not assured that whether he is going to get the similar volume or the larger volume in the next 5 years or 10 years agreement. So if he is developing also with putting his own money, it is very difficult to recover the cost in the future. So these are the impetus for getting this, make indigenization of the critical raw materials in the country. Now coming to that whatever we have seen the report, that we have collected the data from Ministry of Commerce, that what is the import is taking place. So we have seen very clearly that it is not only the raw materials part is very less. In fact, if you take the component level, sub-assembly level, maybe the requirement of materials is much larger, and which we are not able to count, not able to capture, because those things are not available in the form of the raw material. So if within our country, if we are able to develop the material, let's say today, for certain requirements, a small volume also, tomorrow it can be a big mover, or giving the big incentive for the people to have a very good defense ecosystem. And whatever we are talking today, that 14,000 crores per annum of the import of the raw material, the amount of ecosystem, the amount of the business will be much, much larger. And when we are talking about that, we are going for $26 billion manufacturing in the country at the investment of $10 billion and the export of $5 billion. If that is our vision, it is required that we must indigenize the material. And this is the right opportunity, because earlier the volume requirement may be less, but with the increased activity coming in the defense and the aerospace, it is possible now to get the volume also. And if the volume is there, definitely we'll get the value also. And certification will be the part of this. And as Secretary rightly told, that there should be a like committee where the specification has to be frozen first. The number of cases we are not finding that a specification is not clear. And because of that, we are not able to move. I can tell you the example that same grade of titanium alloys, I am supplying tons of tons for our ISRO requirement, ISRO program. But if the same grade of material is required for the aerospace, even for a, let's say, even if for a 500 kg also, I have to go for the entire that certification process. Then only that material can enter in that domain. So these are the different challenges which Indian industry is facing, where we have to address the issue. And if we address this issue by doing certain measures like forming a task force, forming the committee, but the above all, very important point that user is is a prime factor to drive this everything. If the user is not confident, user is not satisfied, user is not able to take this challenge, it is very difficult to indigenize, especially for the OEM driven materials. The material which has been specified by the OEM, if you want to indigenize, it is very difficult to get the clearance from them unless you have the agreement before taking the technology transfer, then only it is possible, which now we are able to put in our new policies. But whatever platform you are using today, unless we have this type of challenge, we are able to take. And it is not that is a one example, number of examples we have seen in the country. As our DG OF, as we have told rightly, that for the barrel material and all, and our Ordnance Factory Board has taken this initiative. And today our material is a world-class material we are producing and supplying. So there are a number of successful stories in the defense where within the country we are able to develop and we are able to successfully use, and it is our performance is much superior, and we have the more reliability also. So there are success stories available, and it is possible that we can drive. Now today's platform, what I see that whatever that is started, I think it will fuel the growth and it will give the lot of our effort will go in the future. And I'm sure that this will be very successful in indigenization of the raw material, for which not only that benefiting a particular industry of that raw material manufacturer, it will also open the very much open door for the MSME. Because as you have the raw material production, there will be a multiplier 4 to 5 times, 6 times, 10 times coming in the volume of business will be there in the country. And that will have the growth. And that is the reason why that our technology provider, OEMs, they are not able giving the material technology to India, because they know that if the material is going from their hand, they will be losing a big business. And this we have to realize and see that our industry and our technology people, they should get the support. And we have a very strong base we have a good base of DRDO, we have academic institutes, and we have industry who can really now today combine together and deliver a fantastic platform. And as Secretary rightly told that let's start with the 2-3 different grades of material initially, which is high volume, and then we can move forward. So with these few words, I again thank the organizers for giving the opportunity. It is a wonderful platform, and I thank you again.
Thank you so much, Dr. Jha. And I'd like to also inform all the panelists and the attendees that Shri Rajkumar ji, Secretary DP, has been kind enough to join back. Sir, we just finished with the DPSUs finishing their observations, and I'm sure Mr. M.K. Gupta, our chairman, will brief you. But we will just have a quick overview also from the foreign OEMs before we get a recap from Mr. M.K. Gupta on this for your concluding remarks. May I now request Mr. William Blair to kindly make his observations, remarks, and with a special focus, if you can, on what are the challenges of the foreign OEMs in getting the Indian local materials approved for the offsets works which are being done by their Indian offset partners. Mr. Blair.
No, thank you. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can. Please go ahead.
Great. Well, no, thank you for hosting this, and Secretary of Defense Production, Shri Rajkumar. Thank you for your support and participation and listening. I know we're short on time, so I'll be very brief. First, I would say what are our needs as a foreign OEM that we've really sought to increase our indigenous content so that we can reduce the amount of imported raw material. One area, military grade wire for wire harnesses. So we do a lot of production of wire harnesses in India. We can greatly, increase the indigenous content if we have that. Aluminum. We've got billets available, but we really need aerospace grade sheets and rolls. And I realize that that requires an investment. A business case, as many have spoken to previously, to have the quantity of material to justify the business case. But I think those opportunities are coming up with the strategic partner programs and the higher indigenous content. So that's a key area. Titanium. We're some projected suppliers as well. And with all of these materials, and others have mentioned, is the testing and material qualification, which requires investment to get to the aerospace and military grade materials. To meet those specifications requires a level of investment, both the development, testing, and qualification. And then lastly, I know it was mentioned at the outset, licensing and end-use certificates. I think there should be opportunities to work underneath the G2G construct that we have through the Defense Trade and Technology Initiative. Possibly there's some initiatives that we could pursue where we get support from the U.S. government, working together with the government in India as it relates to some specific materials that are as we're focusing on increasing the indigenous content. Lastly, I think there are some incentives in the defense offset policy under the DPP 2020. I think increasing or having a greater level of multiplier or value placed on the material development and qualification and raw material utilization, I think would help incentivize our ability to work that through a broader business case, which is both based on volume and utilization through our industrial offset partners. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Blair, for those encouraging and positive remarks. That should take me very quickly to Mr. Ashish Saraf, please.
Thank you, Vivek. Honorable Secretary and PhD Chambers, thank you very much for allowing us to participate and make the comments. I'll be very brief. First of all, we really welcome the incentivization that has been categorized in the DPP, proposed DPP, wherein if the materials are not used due to high cost, there is an incentivization proposed of 15%, and not used because of it's not validated, 25% up to 1% of the order, and so on. So these are really welcome steps. Our assertion will be that out of the 9 material categories that have been identified, we should be really looking at the top 2 or 3. And aluminium, titanium, and steel obviously come as a very low-hanging fruits, wherein the volume question probably will be answered there, because pretty much every aircraft that gets manufactured essentially have these 3 materials in significant quantities. The cost factor, obviously, if there is a multiple proposed for using indigenous material, that will certainly add a great amount of value to ensure that an offset multiple to use indigenous material is addressing the problem or issue of cost sourcing from India. Because of the volume constraint, the cost probably tends to be a bit higher. In terms of qualification, I would assert that the qualification of material sometimes takes a very long time, and it's in months or years in these cases. For indigenous programs, we need to get started right away, and therefore proposing some sort of offset multipliers and banking on these activities will be a key enabler currently there is non-exclusion of all synergistic sectors like civil aerospace, homeland security, and services such as engineering, design, testing, training, and civil MRO. But all these actually require at times dual use material, which is essentially used for both civil as well as military components, and titanium and aluminum is the classic example. If the certification process has to start now for an indigenous program, activities to bank such and potentially requiring some offset multiplier on this activity will be a huge boost for foreign OEMs like us, who will want to actually take advantage of this incentivization and launch certification programs for indigenous material certifications. And last but not the least, we should also look at dual use between civil and military, because there is a lot of commonization of components between these two, specifically in the aluminum and titanium category, with sheets, billets, forgings, and extrusions. So if we launch the certification ahead of time, if we incentivize it enough with multipliers and banking credits, I think we can easily achieve the goal of indigenization for, let's say, the top 3 or 4 materials, which will set a precedent in terms of process certification and sourcing from India for the indigenous programs. Thank you so much. Mr. Vivek, you need to unmute yourself.
Thank you very much, Mr. Saraf. That was Mr. Saraf from the Airbus, Head of Helicopters Division. That takes me to Mr. Nick Khanna. Mr. Khanna, specific focus, apart from your remarks on what are the problems with the Indian OEM partners in terms of sourcing materials.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Sehgal, and welcome back, Secretary. I will focus my comments on what hasn't been said. So a lot of ground has been covered both by the defense public sector companies and by my colleagues, Bill and Ashish. So, it's really important for us now coming out of the COVID-19 recovery to get our key partners, our IOPs and our MSMEs back to strength. Because we've suffered a real slowdown in our suppliers' ability. Many of them MSMEs on this call to manufacture, assemble, deliver goods, as well as getting time at the military range, such as Pokhran, to test some of our completed and delivered capability to the armed forces. So that is priority number one. What is required from us is titanium, carbon fiber, and aluminum alloys. These are critical to several of our Make in India programs. And we would just urge and just reiterate the points made by others to push for a reliable and a reasonable priced source of supply. In most of these cases, these companies are single source suppliers as part of our global supply chain on key programs such as M777 and the P8 program. For metallic parts today, we find that 100%, sort of really close to 100% of these are being imported today. So I absolutely align and agree with the points made by Chairman HAL and OFB that we must get to a better situation today in terms of the domestic certifications cost, and then a revise, sort of a revision and change in how you look at composites and how you can get a more reliable domestic source for that. We absolutely align with that. Many of our programs, for 6 decades or more have been based on that reliable supply. Key programs with HAL, such as Jaguar and Hawk, are prime examples of that, and we would like to continue with that. I'll just mention 2 things as part of our recommendations to the draft DPP on offsets. We believe could potentially help on this front. When we look at what India wants today, it's jobs, technology. It's certainly innovation and a robust global supply chain. Now that aligns, really well with the 4 things that you mentioned in your key remarks. So if you were to look at some of the changes in the draft DPP, such as a direct purchase of eligible goods and services, we felt that the multiplier of less than 1% for components is in fact detrimental to the kind of behavior that we're trying to drive and the kind of incentive that would drive increased partnership with our key IOPs here. Because let's recognize, when you look at the way defense prime contractors around the world, such as ourselves, really bring together whole weapon systems today, these are sourced from around the world. And an offset project that gives an IOP the work to assemble a variety of components into a usable weapon system will only give them the training and the skills to do assembly work. But the indigenous skills and capabilities it takes to ultimately have the sovereign capability, which is where you're trying to get to provide complete support to India's military, will come from the technical knowledge, the skills development technologies, including weapon systems technology, as well as material and manufacturing technologies that come from producing components, sub-assemblies, and assembly that ultimately go into a final weapon system. So we really believe that if you were to take a look at the recommendations which we've submitted on that, please do take a look at that, because we would recommend going back to status quo, which was in the existing DPP 2016 in terms of multipliers for direct purchase of components. The second point I'd like to mention, it's been touched on by Bill, is incentive for higher value addition. Value addition for direct purchase and for export of eligible products should apply on all the work and the material provided by the IOP, including its supply chain resources, irrespective of where the source is located. I can proudly tell you that on the M777 program today, out of 60 IOPs, more than 50% of them are MSMEs. And I welcome the FM's sort of key announcement there, which produces a source of liquidity and a lifeline to the MSMEs. So we would definitely recommend that you please provide not just the value addition for the direct purchase, but you also provide offset credit for the manufacturing products. That could be permitted in a graded manner. I would just reiterate Ashish's point about offset banking should be reintroduced. Over several years, ourselves and the foreign OEMs came up with some excellent programs to be able to help on that regard. And the last point I would make is to please look at the investment in defense manufacturing. A lot of what we have done today to create an aerospace and defense ecosystem, and I'll again go back to the Hawk program, years of partnership with HAL, and on the M777 program, that capability, that know-how, that skills transfer process, program management experience, skills and knowledge, and that capability today with our partners exists long after the period of performance has actually elapsed. And you can then bring in sort of other capabilities from around the world into those facilities to become sourcing hubs and actual global hubs for further programs. So please take a long-term view and a holistic view for investment in defense manufacturing. And we recommend that offset credit should be awarded upon confirmation of transfer of funds, financial or in kind, for investment under this avenue, because any investment under this avenue should be allowed for setting up both existing as well as new manufacturing facilities. And we are absolutely committed to that. We have been, and we will continue to be committed to that. I'll stop there. Thank you, Vivek.
Thank you, Mr. Khan. Those very optimistic remarks and very reasonable contributions. Now I'd like to request our co-chairman, Mr. Vikram Sehgal, of the Defense and the HLS Committee of the PhD Chamber, to give us his perspective before I ask Mr. Gupta to give the key points to the Honorable Secretary. Kindly unmute yourself, Mr. Sehgal.
Sorry. Yeah, can you hear me now? Yeah.
Yes, we can. Please go ahead.
Yeah, due to the paucity of time, I'll try and be a bit quick. I'll try and give an overview of the Indian industry perspective. To start with, I would like to express my gratitude to the key speaker, Shri Rajkumar, Secretary, Defense Production, all the other esteemed panelists who've spoken before me for sparing their time and their views. It's been said before that all of the Indian industry has greatly welcomed the policy reforms which the Honorable Finance Minister announced on the 16th, keeping in mind the vision of Atmanirbhar Bharat of the Honorable Prime Minister. This particular reforms, once implemented, will actually give a fillip to the defense manufacturing industry in India for indigenous requirements as well as for exports. Specifically talking about the raw materials, I think a lot has been said before regarding specifications, the challenges of certification, indigenous equivalents, comparable price, etc. Basically, I feel that till the design authority is with the foreign OEMs, it will be a challenge to try and indigenize all the raw materials. But having said that, we have to make a start. Also, I think for some of the precision products, sometimes because of the smaller quantities, the raw materials may not be available here. I can't resist, coming down to the DPP 2020, which is under finalization. I think a lot of my work was done by Nick before me, who talked about this in detail, but I'd like to put the Indian industry perspective. We are expecting a lot from the DPP 2020. It could be a game changer. A lot of emphasis has been put on the TOT route, where the multiplier has been increased from 1 to 2, or proposed to be increased. Equity, non-equity investment routes have also been given priority, which is also a great move. However, certain technologies have been restricted only to the public sector, and also the multipliers given to them is higher. Maybe we could consider this and keep the Indian industry on the level playing field. One area which again Nick had mentioned before me, which I think is very important for the MSME sector, which I present, is that for the components and parts, the offset has been decreased from 1 to 0.5. Now, this is an area where a lot of the MSMEs are involved in, and I really don't see the reason for this, because this would take away a lot of work from them in the sense which the foreign OEMs are giving to them. In fact, I go back to the DPP 2013, there was a across-the-board offset of multiplier of 1.5 for the MSMEs. This was actually a great boost to the MSMEs at that time, and a lot of MSMEs are still doing offset programs with a 1.5 multiplier. I request the government, the Ministry of Defense, to kindly consider this and forget the products, but really put the MSMEs to the 1.5 multiplier. Quickly, I want to talk about some of the items which have been eliminated or removed from the eligible list of offsets. I feel, again, this is an area where the MSMEs have been doing a lot of work in these products, and this should again be reinstated. And not only that, some of the MSMEs have now become part of the global supply chain of the OEMs for some of these products. Again, quickly, the offsets for G2G and for contracts up to 2,000, that may be looked at, because 2,000 crores is a large amount. So maybe contracts over 300 crores should be subject to offset, which will give a bigger share to the Indian private industry. Of course, some of the reforms have been very, very positive, which, the FDI, the budget provisions for capital procurement, allocation of selected weapons for the Indian industry by banning imports. This will mean that a lot of the work will come into all the Indian companies, the DPSUs, the OFB, and also the big Indian private corporations. And as a good ripple effect of that, will go to the MSMEs as a tier 2, tier 3, and tier 4 suppliers. Finally, I'd just like to say that what the Indian manufacturing sector and also the defense sector, which is actually fledgling and actually bleeding, needs is a strong booster dose from the MOD, both in terms of the reforms package implementation as well as the new DPP 2020, which, like I said before, would be very effective policy for liberal multipliers as a game changer. Thank you for your patience. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sehgal. I'd like to request Mr. M.K. Gupta to quickly give out the key points, especially which had come across from the DPSUs, since the secretary could listen to most of the OEMs and the other speakers, and then we wait for the concluding remarks of Shri Rajkumar ji.
Thank you, Vivek ji. Thank you. Like Chairman OFB mentioned about the raw materials which are specified by the foreign OEMs. Basically, these materials are available within the country, and they are better than the foreign materials as well. but then because of limitations of specifications, because of different specifications mentioned by the foreign OEMs and the local manufacturing, so that's why it is not possible to use them. So it has to be that at the RFI stage, that all the foreign deals of all the defense manufacturing activity should specify the local Indian manufacturing at RFI and agreement stage only. That will be better. Then he talked about the self-reliance index of each DPSU, which has to be made. Probably they have reached to a level of almost 90%. So he was mentioning about that each DPSU should be like making their own self-assessment about the raw material purchased within the country. He also mentioned about the DARPA for technical disputes and technical, if there is some conflict of interest. HL CMD mentioned about again multiplicity of specifications on raw material should be uniform for specifications of materials. He also mentioned about certification standards needs to be changed. Each time the material is changed, the recertification need to be done, which is again cost involving, heavy cost involving. He also mentioned about testing facilities in the country not available. He also mentioned about government support required for minimum order quantity because the order quantities are not very large. So he needs some MOQs. For that, he needs some finance support from the government for development of local materials. CMD Midhani talked about that more stringent conditions are put on the local manufactured material. No such conditions are put forward for foreign OEMs. They only are, the DPSUs are working on the test certificates only. So it's basically the local materials are put to the more stringent test rather than the foreign materials. So I think that in brief, these are the few main points.
Thank you, sir, for really recapitulating it very well. Over to the Secretary DPPs.
Thank you, Gupta ji, and thanks all the panelists for raising a number of points. And I understand the key point for today's topic still remains the specification of the raw material, certification processes of the such material, testing facilities, and order quantities. And also the suggestion came that we should identify 2-3 key materials such as aluminum, carbon fiber, titanium, steel, where the volume is currently justified, and we should quickly take up the process of indigenization. So we will focus on these areas: specification, certification, testing facilities, and at least in respect of these 2-3 materials, where the quantity is within the country, the demand exists, we will take up the process of indigenization on a faster route. So, as I was mentioning in the beginning, we are in the process of framing defense production and export promotion policy. The idea is that in the process of indigenization, there is a possibility where the investment per se may not be justified. So there may be need for some kind of capital subsidy. So we are looking into that aspect. Once the policy is put into public domain, we will seek your feedback and views. And I'm sure in a consultative process, we will take it forward. Now, another suggestion that came was about listing of all imports of materials or components, subcomponents, assemblies, etc. by DPSU and OFE. So we are in the process of putting all such imported materials and component by way of a portal so that industry can look into it, figure out, where the volume is there for the raw material or volume is there in terms of assemblies and sub-assemblies. So you can make out a business case for yourself. Another suggestion which was made in the beginning itself that we should have some defense export promotion council. Actually, as you know, export is a tricky thing. Most of the buyers are either the military or the government. So this issue is being discussed and debated, and most probably we will be, identifying certain DPSUs and distributing geographies among them for doing the work of export promotion. Of course, they will be then responsible for doing the consultation process with the industry. Because as I told you, government to government deal is ideal, but it may or may not be easily available everywhere. Then we give a lot of letter of credits also to friendly foreign governments. There also role of government is very important. So promotion council or maybe consultation with the industry will be a better way, while we will like to continue the work of export promotion in either the government or DPSU domain. So far as offsets are concerned, I believe a number of panelists talked about offset policy. Maybe we need a separate session or separate discussion, because I will not like to mix up offset policy with today's topic of discussion. Objectives of offsets have been very clearly laid down, that we need investment, we need technology. So you have to also understand, it is not only about, facilitating export by MSMEs. That per se has not built the capacity in the country. In fact, we got a study carried out by IDSA, and the outcome of that study was that 80% of the offsets have been utilized by just 15 companies in the country. 80% of the offsets. So to say that this policy will not be, will be hindering the export of components and materials from the country, I don't think that is the key objective. Key objective is still investments and technology. So we have to focus on that, and I am sure when we have another opportunity, we can discuss it in detail. I have received a lot of suggestions from all of you. We will be, conveying our views on all those suggestions, and I am sure thereafter we can have detailed discussions. So finally, as Department of Defense Production, I appreciate and support the initiative, endeavor of the industry, in particular PSG Chamber of Commerce, for indigenization of critical and strategic raw materials, because this will definitely help us in achieving our aim of Atmanirbhar Bharat. So thank you so much for giving this opportunity and listening to me patiently. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I think you have, if I can say so, raised the hopes of the industry by giving those very important guidance parameters. And we will be surely coming back to you for another sessions, as you suggested, on the offsets policy. And also love to be a part of those consultations for the export promotion with the government on this, if not a promotion council. So we would be really happy to be a part of that, sir. And I'll just request our co-chairman, Mr. Nuwal, to kindly give a formal vote of thanks.
A very good afternoon to all. Shri Rajkumar ji, Secretary Defense Production, Shri Hari Mohan ji, Chairman OFB, Shri R. Madhavan ji, CMD Hindustan Aeromatics Limited, Shri Dr. S.K. Jha, Midhani, Mr. Blair, CEO Lockheed Martin, Shri Nick Khanna ji, MD BAE Systems India, Shri Ashish Ji Saraf, Head Air Business South Asia, Shri Sanjay Agarwal, President PSD Chamber, Shri Saurabh Sanyal ji, Shri M.K. Gupta, PSD Chamber Defense and HLC Committee, Shri Vivek Sehgal ji, Principal Director PSD Chamber, Shri Vikram Sehgal ji, Co-Chairman PSD Chamber Defense and HLC Committee, friends from industries and media. On behalf of PSD, I sincerely thank Secretary Defense Production for giving an opportunity to organize this important webinar on indigenization of critical strategic material and defense manufacturing. It proved a timely opportunity for this important discussion, which is very much needed to achieve the goal of Atmanirbhar Bharat in the defense and aerospace sector. We are extremely thankful in taking some bold policy steps for developing the indigenization industry. The inclusion of defense as a key strategic sector is the rightful step towards realizing the vision of our Honorable Prime Minister towards building domestic capabilities, reducing dependency on import, and boost export. Introducing the negative list of import and the separate budget provision for domestic capital procurement will surely give big boost to Make in India in the defense sector. It is also highly appreciated that policy reform are planned for time-bound defense procurement process and faster decision making as spelled out 16th May by our Honorable Finance Minister. The industries also feel that it is a very much needed that the already laid down timeline in both capital and revenue procurement are other to in better speed. A various points discussed in session will surely help toward indigenization of critical and strategic raw material for defense manufacturing. Of our aim should be notified the annual liabilities of 14,000 crore in the identified 8 such raw material, at least reduced to a minimum. I think all panelists who have brought in their tremendous experience and knowledge into this vital discussion. Lastly, we are grateful to all dignitaries and delegates for participating in this conference. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Nawal, for this. And I'd like to thank our Senior Vice President, Mr. Sanjay Agarwal ji, our Chairman, Mr. M.K. Gupta ji, and Mr. Vikram Sehgal ji, co-chairman of the Defense and HLS Committee, all the panelists, esteemed panelists from DPSUs, from DGOF, HAL, from Midhani. Thanks a ton for making this a great success, sir, and for staying on. Mr. Blair, Mr. Ashish Saraf, and Mr. Nick Khanna, thank you very much for being here. And I'd like to thank all the participants who have stayed here, more than 150, 60 of them, and peaking at about 205 or 208 of them, for making this a grand success. Thank you very much. We look forward to seeing you.
It was a great success. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
करना था
Gopal.